Hi everyone! It's been a while since I did an art help video, so a lot of people ask me, how do you find your art style? And a lot of people also ask me how I found my art style. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you guys and answering all your art style related questions. But first, we have a very special guest. Drum roll, please! Lucas! Yay!
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Lucas, I'm a concept artist and illustrator. I was working for video games before, but now I am doing this art YouTube thing full-time, so nice to meet you.
Yay! Yeah, so with that, let's start the video. The short answer is no. You already have an art style, and in fact, everyone that draws already has an art style. I feel like a common beginner mistake is to force yourself to change your art style, and I personally think developing your art style is a very natural process. So here's a small analogy I would use. Think of it as like a plant. Every plant grows at a different height and has different amounts of leaves, different amount of flowers. They all grow with time. Emphasis on with time. And of course, there are things you can do to make your plant grow healthier, such as watering your plant or like putting it underneath the sunlight or fertilizing it, etc., but you should not force it. It's like if you're intentionally stretching and pulling the plant thinking it will grow more, which will definitely not work. With this analogy in mind, I'm gonna pass it on onto Lucas and he can explain when he tried to do this and what he got out of it.
I absolutely agree with what Veda says. I have tried many times to forcefully extract the style out of my art, and a lot of artists just come to me and ask me like, hey, what is my style, how do I explore it? And I tell them the answer all the time, and even if I tell them like, hey, you cannot forcefully make it happen, I still do it myself. And here I actually have the last time that I tried to do it, and it was a failed experiment. So let me show you guys what I did. So recently, maybe like 3 years ago or something like that, I went through my sketchbook and I said, I'm sick of just having different styles on my Instagram. I'm gonna grab each one of my favorite artists and I'm just gonna copy their style, write the things that I like, the features that I like of each one of them, and I'm just gonna figure out then like artificially create my style. So I went through Alexander Zadig Deboin, that is a fantastic French illustrator, and then I went through the art of Tanzi Hui, that I don't know where he's from, but I love his style, it's very unique. Then Nurzan, another artist that I love, and then I started making fan art of just things that I love, like Evangelion, trying to fuse all of these elements that I like from different styles. And even though the experiment actually kinda worked and made me fuse things that I like from each of them, and also served just as practice, because at the end of the day, just drawing more and drawing from artists that you like is practice. It did work to artificially create our style, because it just doesn't work like that. You have to naturally develop it, and here I was trying to extract it by force, like punching my way through the style instead of naturally make it grow. So it was a nice experiment, but at the end didn't work very much. But of course I gotta say, it is very different for every artist. So if you have a different opinion or a different experience with your style, then absolutely, you gotta understand that the journey of every artist is extremely different. So different things work for different artists.
Moving on to the next point is, how do you really develop your art style? Even though forcing it yourself, like Lucas said, that might not be the best because you did it in such a short time, but I feel like looking at artists in general will really help you to develop your art style. Because for me, my teacher especially taught me to kind of look at the artists I like and then imitate them, like at the actual piece. For example, I imitated Nighthawks, which is a famous painting by Edward Hopper, and I also imitated a lot of other Edward Hopper's artworks, so that I kind of knew the base of how to paint and how to kind of develop my painterly art style, and that really helped me in the beginning to kind of know how to paint, and that's really important for you, how to learn, and actually that's required in my school IB visual arts curriculum. They actually say you have to imitate artists as part of the thing, which I think is really interesting. But that way, if you only look at the artist and nothing else, then you kind of just have an art style that is way too similar to other people, and that might not necessarily be really unique and defining yourself as an artist. So I think the next thing is to look at the artist for sure and take things that you like from each artist and then incorporate to your own artwork. But it also takes time for you to actually draw, and it's like a constantly changing process because you're going to discover new artists each day, and that's how you really, it's like developing and involving every artwork that you make. It's not something that's consistent. And as I said, I really agree with the drawing mileage thing, is just really drawing a lot, and then the more you kind of understand yourself and understand the artist that you like, that's how you develop your art style.
Absolutely, agreed.
So I actually started my art journey like any other Gen Z kid. I started in like late 2010s. That's when all the MLP was super popular back then. So I drew so much My Little Pony fan art, and then I started liking anime. So then I would gradually start drawing in a more anime art style compared to like My Little Pony. But that was also like looking at all the artists I liked back then on like DeviantArt and like YouTube and stuff, because I didn't have Instagram, I didn't have Twitter or anything. And so that was kind of, yeah, DeviantArt. That was the days. And then I actually have a full art journey video where I talk about this more in detail, and if you're a subscriber, you kind of probably already knew my art journey, so why don't Lucas talk about his art journey?
Awesome. So here I have some images, so I'm just gonna pull them up so you guys can see what a little bit of my art style was. And of course, these are just a few images of my whole art style, and I'm very sure that a lot of you have something very similar. So of course, just like any other kid, I started with drawing funny pictures of sun and mountains and little houses and family pictures with markers and crayons. So very common thing. I think that that's actually everybody, not only artists that start with this, but every single person has an opportunity of drawing these things, and the ones that become artists are just simply the people that never stop. You know, after doing these crayon drawings, we just continue drawing and drawing, right? So from this we turn to when I was around 12 years old or 13 years old, when I just started falling in love with anime, just like Veda. I think that is a common thread on every artist path nowadays. I fell in love. I wanted to create my own manga. I said like, yeah, for sure, I can create my own. I want to be a mangaka, so I'm gonna make a cool story about angels. And I started painting. It looked horrible, by the way, but I was trying, you know. And then around maybe 14, 17, I continued with that adventure. I refined myself a little bit. Things started looking a little bit more proportionate and better, but still very far away from being a proficient artist. Also around 17, I remember going to high school and just showing it to my friends and saying like, oh, look how cool I can make like this Naruto fan art stickers. And I was just very happy showing this fan art to my friends and receiving the feedback of them saying like, yeah, it's really cool. I think that you could actually make this real art. Then I went into university and I started, maintaining my love with anime. Still a lot of things taken out of it, but the refinement of it went better. And that's when I decided, or when I discovered that for me to become kind of like a more wholesome artist and be able to dominate everything, I needed to practice a little bit of realism and practice real anatomy and things like that. So I started just practicing those type of things and construction, perspective, basic figures and stuff like that around 20, 22, 23. And anatomy, of course, that is a must for every single artist, right? And that's when I started with my adventure with digital art. So here is a nice little painting that I did when I was a big fan of Feng Zhu. So you can definitely recognize his style if you know his art. Then I started making more characters. These are some animals inspired by the style of Mike Acevedo, which was a very big inspiration back when I was maybe 23, 24. And then I fell in love with the art of Max Greke, which is till this day one of my favorite artists. So my paintings got more saturated and shapes got a little bit more cartoony and blocky, and I continued with that love. So my Spider-Man painting that a lot of people is the one that they recognize me for, also is very inspired by the art of Max Greque. And then lately I have been just in love with the art of Sam Does Arts, which is amazing. So recently I made this painting, and that's where I am right now, kind of like a cartoony, colorful character artist that loves anime and a little bit of Disney style.
That's actually very cool. I can actually like see and recognize like so many of those. Like how you have Disney inspired, I definitely see that. I also see the anime inspired stuff. So
right.
Very lit. So that was my art journey I talked about just now. So now I'm gonna talk about my art styles. I actually did an art style challenge a while back, which I drew like 14 of my friends' art mutuals art style, and I drew 3 of my own and combined 17 because 17's a good number. Anyways, so my first art style that people probably know me for, and it's also like what I usually draw if I'm making videos, is my chibi anime-ish style. I actually don't know how to name these styles, so like let's just call it chibi anime style. So this style, I actually was looking for a style which I can draw animations more easily in, so that's like simplified shapes and very like simplified features. And I also want to make the silhouettes very exaggerated, so that, because that's like animation, because silhouettes is a really important part of animation, so that's what I was trying to go for. Okay, anyways, the second art style that I draw in is semi-realism. I don't really know what to call it. It's like anime but fused with more painterly aspects. So this one I was inspired by a lot of anime. I don't know, I just see a lot of art, like really good art on Twitter, and I just like go like wow, and then I save it. I don't really remember their names unfortunately, but the one I remember is at 999mm_e, because I don't know how you pronounce that. Lastly is my realism style. This is actually a style that I developed the most recently because I used to suck at realism because I only drew anime back then. And this art style I mainly looked at painters as well as, because I already had like a basis in like anime and like all my other art styles that I previously mentioned. And I actually feel like I have more art styles, but I just too lazy to include them in this video. Okay, so I kind of merged what I kind of already knew, like my drawing mileage part, while adding artists that I like. So kind of elaborating to what we said earlier together, is like your drawing mileage plus the artworks and artists that you were already inspired by, kind of fuse them all together. That's how I came up with this art style. And I also looked at a lot of painters from like the non-contemporary days, like Edward Hopper, like I mentioned earlier. He's very good artist, very good painting. If you like art history stuff, you probably already know him, but definitely go check him out. And Rembrandt, another very famous artist. He was back in like the Baroque Dutch golden age days. It was like a long time ago, but how they use light and the way they convey emotions into their paintings is something I really like. And I also love Impressionism because the colors of Impressionism just really stick out to me. So I kind of like I feel like now, especially because I know my audience is like younger beginner artists, they kind of look at like artists on the internet, which is good because there are a lot of really talented artists out there, but sometimes you need to also look at the artists of the past as well. Like, I know it's like boring looking at like fine arts, but actually it's not boring. It's actually so much fun looking at artists of the past and seeing how like all of the stuff we know, the artists that we like now are like in a way inspired by artists of the past, because every artist is inspired by another artist, right? So like technically we can see like how they inspired, like, I don't know, I just want people to look at non-contemporary artists as well. As artists of the 21st century, of course, social media is very important to us. However, I feel like sometimes social media kind of like makes us like it kind of influences our art in a way, especially Instagram. I feel like I'm not that familiar with Twitter.
Yeah, of course, and we can all identify with this because I think it is a struggle of every contemporary artist. We all want to have some type of influence, some type of following, or maybe not all of us, but majority of people want to have at least somebody that cares about what we post online, right? So a number of followers, a number of likes is nothing new, that people just want to have some type of response to their art. But that is very, very bad for our artistic growth, especially in my opinion, because social media rewards certain behaviors that are not the best behaviors for growing as an artist. Two of those things are that social media rewards certain styles and subject matters. For example, a lot of us know that doing fan art and drawing portraits of pretty girls, those are two subject matters that...
Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's just like, just appealing, right?
Oh my, well, like when I first like made like art, I mean that when I first like got onto Instagram, I was like searching like all like the artists, especially like famous ones, because when you first start like searching for artists, you don't really know any, so like Instagram just kind of recommends you some, and all of them are like pretty girls.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, like pretty girls are very super fun to draw, and it's probably like one of the favorite things I like to draw, but like but why is it like so popular? Like there's so many other cool things too, you know? Like,
yeah, it can be anything. It can be anything, and that is a problem if you're an artist that is just starting out, and you know you have to practice everything, right? Because you don't want to become an artist. The only thing that you can draw is pretty girls, and that's it.
Yeah.
And if you go into a place that where you're rewarded by drawing the same thing again and again and again, then you're never giving time to learning all the other stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like art style too. I remember like Instagram. I don't know now, because now I like stopped caring. But before I go like, oh my god, my art style changes every Instagram post. Oh my god, this is so bad. Like, look at my feet, it's so ugly and stuff like that. And I know like Instagram kind of like sort of looks at like your feed and how pretty it is and how consistent it is, and that kind of like
because it is terrible. It is terrible, and I have been there many times, and even after, you know, it has been almost a decade of just posting art online for me, you know, from the days of DeviantArt, like you say, until now. It has been a long time, and still till this day I am tempted many times to just paint for social media instead of painting for myself, which is a very obvious mistake.
So moral of the story is don't listen to social media. Listen to your heart and what your heart desires and what your heart wants to draw. Yeah.
Yes.
Now that you figured out how we both came to our ever-growing art style journeys, let's talk about how you can also grow as an art style journey and things you learn along the way. Okay, so firstly, I feel like this is a very interesting point, is that so a lot of artists can't see their own art styles, but other people can.
My god, that many times that I have heard of other artists when I complain to coworkers or friends like, I don't have an art style, how do you have an art style? And they just come to me and say like, obviously you have an art style, like I can recognize your sketchbook anywhere.
Yeah, like even though I feel like I have like a lot of art styles, like I feel like I have like 17, 18, actually not that much, but like you get the point, it's not just one. And I draw so many different things. I draw realism, I draw anime, I draw cartoons, I just draw everything. But like people can still recognize my art, and you know, so like recently I was, fortunately, not recently, like 3 months ago. Is that recently? Anyways, I was able to help draw for a TV show, and then I remember somebody like messaging me and was like, "Oh my god, I saw your art on TV and I instantly recognized it was you." And I was like,
so cool.
"Really? Oh my god!" Like sometimes I'm like, this art style I don't really draw that much in, but like people can still recognize it. So I feel like everyone, like as an artist, you always think you don't have an art style, and you always think your art style is bad, and you always think that no one, like I have way too many art styles, no one's gonna recognize it, but they will. Like they will.
Absolutely.
They just will.
Absolutely.
one more thing I'd like to add, because you guys know I love ending my videos on like a positive note, because I feel like artists are always so like sad about their own art, and like so they always like, I guess like a common theme is like all artists like in a way they dislike their own art, which you shouldn't. And so I'm trying to change that in the internet. So this is why I add all these sections to these videos, is that there is no bad art style. I feel like everyone's like, oh my god, my art style is so bad, but it's, if like, even though your drawing is bad, it's not your art style. It's more of maybe your technical ability isn't at the point where you can convey your art style nicely. So the moral of the story is practice, and it's not your art style. Yeah. So the conclusion of this video is, number one, have drawing mileage, and the more you draw, the more you look at artists, the more you're able to develop your art style in a not rushed and like natural manner. Number two, you are also kind of, in the way, your art style will be like kind of like the sum with both your drawing experience as well as the artist you look at. Number three, there is no bad art style. You shouldn't dislike your art style because you have one. Number four, it's okay to have multiple art styles, and that probably means that you draw a lot of things, and that shows that you're a very versatile artist, which is good, especially if you want to do like animation stuff. You kind of have to cater to a lot of like different animation styles for different like shows, for example. But yeah, that's that. And number five, just keep drawing and keep looking at artists so you can further develop in a very natural manner. And even us, me and Lucas, we're still developing our art styles. Like, there's never an end point, and it just keeps going on.
And on and on.
Yes. So yeah, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much to Lucas for reaching out and collaborating with me on this video, and we're also going to have a collab on his channel. If you would like to know about habits that every artist should have, you should go check his channel out. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.
Bye bye.